Haven't you noticed that this year is kind of a big year for musicals? I mean, for one, Bohemian Rhapsody won Best Actor this year at the Academy Awards. And yes, this review comes at a very late time, and I apologize for it. But my name is Noah Williams, and welcome to Catman Entertainment Review This. Now, that's it. Before we go into any spoiler territory or anything else like that, I need to say one thing. I am no way sponsored by the company that is allowing me I'm allowing myself to do my own personal review for this, and take it as you will. Now, that said, while we jump into this, I will say this much: it is a very spectacular movie. It honestly one of my favorites. So, and seriously, the person who wrote this script, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much, Destiny. So, that said, let's begin. So, musical biopics about famed bands have always kind of been a hit and miss. Bohemian Rhapsody was a hit. The Dirt was kind of a miss. So that brings us to today, where we're talking about Rocketman. Is it a hit and miss? Well, honestly, it is a very, 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 very well hit. So for those of you who do not know, Rocketman tells the story of Reginald Dwight, otherwise famously known as Elton John. And it follows him at a couple points in his life, primarily focused on his adult early years, as he is centered around the rock and roll genre kind of dying out, and while the pop and everything else like that are kind of coming into frame. So, that said, it begins off with here and there, and you have to very well know what you're getting into. So, that said, this is the first Hollywood film to feature two adult men going at it. So, as much as I like to say it, it's a gay sex scene. And it's very interesting to see in some parts, but at the same time, it feels a bit like watching a softcore, which honestly isn't that bad, so it ain't great, so, but it is a very fantastical scene, because you kind of get to know what person you're dealing with, especially towards one of the earlier scenes before said scene, as he is kind of just being himself, being a drama queen on stage and behind stage. It's awesome, it's interesting, and it's captivating. That said, this film does star Taron Egerton as the titular character who wrote the song, Rocketman, Elton John, and Jamie Bell as Bernie Taupin. And the chemistry between Taron and Jamie are electric. Like, from start to finish, it's one of those, you kind of have to believe that they're friends in real life for that chemistry to be exact. And during one of my first watch-throughs with this person who wrote the script for this, I said, it kind of pays to be friends with Elton John. Now, we don't know, Elton John kind of starred with Taron Egerton in 2017's Kingsman, The Golden Circle, and that was fascinating to know that 2 years later, we get a movie where the Kingsman, Taron Egerton, plays Elton John, and it's funny. It's funny to note sometimes, so it kind of pays to be that, but it also stars Bryce Dallas Howard as his mother, and so, that said, we are going to be diving into some spoiler territory, so if you have not seen the movie yet, go ahead and watch it. It is really great. Awesome, in fact. So, that's it. As a kid, Reginald Dwight was kind of a black sheep in his family. And this is according to the movie, so he was very talented from the age of 5. He learned how to play piano by listening to someone on the radio playing on the piano and managed to mimic it with such perfection that his grandmother had to know that they needed to take him to classes. That's great. That's actually fantastic. Because that's one of those things that I can relate to. And that's what this movie has, is a lot of relatable topics. His mother, however, is very absent from his life, especially in his early years, and tries to make up with it by saying, I've been here his whole entire time, I've taken care of him. What have you done? Kind of just, So, she ends up becoming one of the worst people on the planet, and that's saying something because she's just mediocre compared to a lot of the people that come and go in Elton's life. Or Reginald, at this point's life. His father, however, is a very abusive man. Gives 2 cares less about Elton and his career or his interests or even supporting him. And yes, I do know that there was a report that said that his stepbrothers did come out and say that's not right. But at the same time, you have to see there's 2 sides of the coin, so you kind of have to see it from the other side as well. You kind of have to view it from what he interpreted it. And his grandmother is the main driving force in his life. She's the first one to notice his talent. She's the first one to push him to success, to greatness. And even when later on in the movie, when his mother cheats on his father with a guy she ends up later marrying, it's kind of interesting to note that all throughout that movie, he never gives up on his dream. Even in his early years. So that said, he ends up getting his family all together, or his family ends up separating. Sorry. I have had very little sleep, so sorry. That said, he ends up getting his whole entire family together. And his family are his new family, that is. It's very pushy. Later on in the movie, they show back up, and the mother's obviously there for money. The stepfather's there for the ride along, and the grandmother's there to note that he's changed. That's it. This has to be noted that one of the things that in Rocketman that is one of the most grueling is the hardships he faces. And as a gay man in the 70s, that is very challenging. For instance, he doesn't come out until he's gay until after he gets drunk with the band that he played with when he was in Bluesology with him and his songwriter, Burin. And that's where it gets it leads very deeply into, it's not about the experiences. It's more of less about the people who are there to support you. And that's something I can relate to. For me, as a young man living here in Topeka, Kansas, actually here in Kansas just in general, I'm very talented as a kid. And honestly, I kind of let my talent go to waste, but oh well. I mean, I learned from it. And you learn from watching other people that it's not about making people happy. It's about making yourself happy. And that's the overall theme of this movie. So going on with spoilers. And they end up going to America. End up performing at a club called the Troubadour. Performing Crocodile Rock, and that's where the symbolism of success starts to appear. And one of the interesting takes on it, towards the end of the song and the scene, he lifts up off the keyboard and lifts into the air. The audience are lifting with him, and that is, he is taking everyone for a ride of a lifetime. It can be interpreted either way. Let me know in the comments below what you think on that one. If you have seen it, if you haven't, then please do watch it. You shouldn't be here watching this video. That said, he ends up meeting a nice man at first, named John Reed. Now, John Reed is a music producer, and he notices that Elton's got talent, and he's got the skill, and everything else like that, and so he wrestles him away from a recording studio for profiteering gains. We'll get into that one here in a minute. But all the while, Bernie's kind of just in and out of Elton's life as Elton interprets it. Once again, I know there are two sides of a coin. But Elton and John Reed end up forming a romantic relationship as well as a business relationship that leads into the first gay sex scene in Hollywood, as I've stated. And it's interesting to note, but that's when things kind of go downhill. After he kind of gets Elton out from under the company, he starts being abusive. He cheats on Elton. He hits Elton right before he goes on concert. And that's when Elton snaps at Bernie. And his life takes a turn for the worst. He starts getting into alcohol, to drugs, to being more sex crazed. In a way you could say that, I guess. I don't view it like that. I view it as he fell in love and he needed to find love. Whether it was at the bottom of a bottle or in another stranger's arms or whoever, he needed to find love. And he couldn't find it because why? When all but two people showed you that love doesn't exist. And that's what else I can relate to. I've been through a lot of experiences that make me feel unwanted, unloved, and so have a lot of others. And that movie's there to say there's always going to be somebody. As I've stated, the overarching thing is it don't matter about what you're doing, but what matters is the people that are there to help you, to guide you. Eventually, the movie ends up with Bernie leaving Elton just to live his own life because he's tired of the fame of the industry. Elton can't escape that because he's in a contract with this John Reed, played by a very interesting cast choice by Richard Madden. So, eventually, Bernie steps in. He ends up snapping at his parents, telling them that he never cared about them, that they were the worst people in the world. But Bernie steps in at the end of the movie, tells him, using the song of Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, that he didn't sign up for this. And he just leaves. Elton ends up going to the Madison Square Garden to end up performing, and he retorts that he didn't sign up for you, pointing at himself in the mirror, pointing out that he doesn't like the character that he has to play on stage, but he rather likes the person that he was, leading into his fame, to his success, to his grandeur. And that's when the movie ends. The movie ends with him at rehab, checking himself in, so he can get better, so he can be stronger. And Bernie checks in on him. He apologizes to Bernie. Beforehand, he apologized to Bernie in his head. He apologized to his parents. Because he knows that they could never change, but who's he? Who's he to them? And he apologizes to his younger self. He apologizes to John Reed. Eventually, the movie ends with him singing, "I'm still standing," because, god dang it, we're all still standing. The movie in itself is not only the best biopic, honestly, but is also one of the greatest musicals I have seen in a very long time. And that's saying a lot, because considering with all the musicals that have come out in the past 5 or so years, it is awesome. It is spectacular. It has a little bit of everything for everybody who has gone through or is going through hardships. And if you are going through hardships, just know that you have people to talk to. Just know that there are people out there that care, even if it feels like they don't. I care about people. It's the whole reason why I started this company. I care too much about people, and I want to help people. I want to help people find the best of them, as Elton did through his music. As a lot of good artists who have gone through some troubling times have. And you can't be an artist without going through something. But hey, that's another time for another video. And that's it. I have to leave this with a good review, with a very great review, with the best review I can give it. 5 out of 5. I wish I could give it more, but there's just so much. There's so much greatness in that movie. And yeah, it slows down. But it slows down to nailing the point that was where he was at in his life. It was a very slow point. But things sped up. That said, if you like this video, like and comment down below. If you want me to do any more videos like this, comment down below what you want me to do, what you want me to review. If you have any ideas, comment as well. Subscribe for more content like this. And if you just so like this, punch that bell. You don't have to punch it, but just click on it. Make sure that it's red, so you get that notification in your email that says that a new video is coming up. That said, I will leave you all with this. Take care of yourselves. With all that's going on in today's world, it's very interesting to note. And I know I say this a lot. It's very interesting to note that the real people that care about you will show themselves. They may not look like me. They may not look like you. But the real people care about you on the inside. And you alone. And I will say this, I don't mean to make this any more about me, but if you are feeling any thoughts of doing anything, please contact the suicide hotline. As in this movie, Elton John had attempted to commit suicide. And I will leave a number down below. If you are a veteran watching this, I will leave a number for the Veteran Crisis Hotline. They've helped me a lot. Then again, I've only called them once, but still, they've helped me a lot. Talking to somebody, even if it's just yourself in the mirror, which I do all the time, it helps. It really does. We don't need any more people lost to suicide this year. We've had enough. Or we don't need any more people lost to suicide any year. And I know that's hard at times. Believe me, I know. But it gets easier. And it definitely gets easier when you have people to help you. To help you and your soul. That's it.